Okay, welcome back to the second part of this session, mid session on creating CRUD application using Web API and Angular. Yesterday we discussed that we have a case study called Project Management System in which we wanted to implement all the CRUD operations. We have already implemented the API. Make sure that the API project is running from your Visual Studio, and also you are able to get the list of the products when you run from the browser. At the same time, make sure that you have created the product application based on Angular. If you run this project, it will open up and you will get this default UI. This is coming from the default app component. Now, yesterday we saw that main.ts is the main entry point for the Angular application, which will tell us which is the starting module. If you press F12, you will come to know which is the starting component or bootstrap component. Press F12, you will go to the definition and notice that this is the decorator of component, and it will tell us which is the view file or the HTML, and instead of the default one, I will just add, instead of hello world, which we by default we will use, I will just write a different message, save it. Notice that it is automatically compiled browser also. So hopefully everyone is ready with this. Now what we will do is we will go back and okay, now in the Angular project we'll identify what are the steps needed to add bootstrap support to this project. By default it is not added, so I'm going to add bootstrap component. Go to the terminal and type npm install bootstrap. uh, let bootstrap package be installed. Npm space install space bootstrap. Now once we install the bootstrap, we need to import it. So let me go to the styles.css, the project level, and this is where you can globally import the CSS files. Type this import statement. Hopefully you can see my screen. Okay, bootstrap package is installed. I have also imported the bootstrap CSS. Once this is done, next step will be, now we will add the required components or different architectural pieces to implement the CRUD operation. So first I will add models folder, under which I will add a product class to define our model. Next I will add services folder, under which I will add a product service. This product service will be actually calling the API. Next, I will create three components, one for listing the products. I will call this as product list. Another to create the product create or product add. And next, I'll add product update to edit or update the product. So last three are the components, one service and one model class. This is what we are going to add from the terminal command prompt. So first let's create you will be in one of the folders, that is the root folder. We will go to the src and app folder. Under app folder we will create uh, uh, all our folders, classes and components. So let me first go to the directory or the folder. Create the folder. Once you create it, you will see that in the left hand side the folder is automatically created. Hopefully everyone has completed. Under this I will create a class. So ng generate class, call it as product. You can use two commands. One is ng generate class or ng just g to represent shortcut for the generate command. Whatever these commands I'm using, these are known as Angular CLI commands. You will see that under models, what happened? Okay, somehow it's not reflecting. Let me go to the folder and just verify. It is not created. It's created under this. So let me just delete this. I was at the wrong directory. Let me go to models folder and then generate the product. Okay, now you will see that under models we have product class being created. Now we will add the required properties that we added in the API yesterday. So let me go to the API model and we will add the same properties that we have added here. First one is ID. Notice that this is the TypeScript syntax for declaring properties. Name, price, created date, and category. Press Ctrl KD to auto format it. You have to import in the styles.css file. Which is at the global level. Then you have to create the product model class. Once this is done, go back to the terminal. Next step is to create services folder. Let me go back to app folder. Make sure that you are creating the folder structure properly. Let me create a directory called services. So under app, you should see models folder as well as services folder. CSS we have created the models folder, product class, services folder. Under services, we will create a service called product service. So let me go to services folder, ng generate. Now I will use another command called service. I'll just type the name product. It will append the service keyword automatically to that service class. Let us go to the services folder. You'll see that there is a product service class automatically created. Now notice that for services, there is a different decorator called injectable. Any class which has a decorator or metadata of injectable, that will be defined as a service in Angular architecture. Next is we have to create a component called product list. Again, I will go back to the app folder on the terminal. Ng generate component, call this as product list. And notice that there will be one folder, and under that 4 files automatically created. Nitin, may note down these steps, or you can type in notepad somewhere. Keep it ready. Whenever you will be able to get time, you can just write out in the editor later on. Okay, similarly, I will generate another component called as create. Notice that product create folder is also created, under which again 4 files of that component will be generated. One more component for update. So you should have this kind of a folder structure. Let me expand it. Under models, there will be product class, model class. There will be 3 components for the CRUD operations, and there will be one service class. Okay, so our folder structure as well as these are the steps which we have done so far. We added bootstrap package. We imported it in the global styles. We created models folder under which product model class was created. We created services folder under which a service class was created. Then we added 3 components for the list, create and update operation. Okay, now let me go back. So if we have looked at the application yesterday, whenever we start, we have to display the we have to add navigation links at the top for going to home or to list or to add. So we will go to app component.html. Go to app component.html. Open it, and here I will add a bootstrap navigation item. Now let me close it out. If you go to bootstrap, documentation, search for nav, and scroll down. This is what you will get: a navigation, a nav tag, and the respective classes. I'm going to copy the classes here, add a nav, I'll add the class, under this nav add display title. Let me see if title is available. Yes. Let me go to the app component.ts file. This will be PMS product management system. Let me go here and okay, so title is available. I will add 3 links. Notice how I'm adding them. We'll discuss what this router link is. Similarly, I will add 2 more links. One going to product list, another going to create. Once the navs are done, I will add a div. Let me start and see if everything is building correctly. Ashish is asking root, what is it? Yes, we'll discuss about all these things. Let's first complete our navigation items and then we will discuss about everything. Okay, by the time it is opening up, okay, so template URL and style URL. Style URL refers to the CSS file that you can write CSS specific for this component. Template URL will refer to the HTML, that is the view for this component, and selector meaning whatever you write in this view in the HTML file. If you want to refer that in the next component or some other component within the same module, then you can directly reuse it using selector. Selector is nothing but a custom HTML element that you want to refer to the content of this HTML. I hope this is clear. Some problem in the HTML. So let me go there and figure out what is the problem. Okay, so the problem in the tag. Let me check. Using here. Make sure after router link you put it square brackets in the double quotes. Let me save. Let it rebuild. Okay, it is not automatically going to open. So let me go to JSON file, package.json file, make a small change there. This is what we discussed yesterday. Whenever I'm typing npm start command, it is internally going to refer to the Angular command. Serve meaning build and run. Open meaning open the default URL in the browser. So let me type npm space start again. Let me go to the if you have not completed, make sure you have completed. Okay, there is some problem. Yes, there is a problem here. Let me save it again. Some problem. Make sure you write the HTML correctly, otherwise you will get errors. We also forward slash. Okay, let's discuss about this. So this is the navigation items. I'm just displaying the title first, and then three hyperlinks. Uh, this router link refers to if I click on this hyperlink using a tag, then I want to call a specific route. Can you see this nice UI? It is working. Everyone complete this. Router link is a Angular attribute. All Angular attributes are defined in the HTML using square brackets, and if you are referring to any event such as click event, they will be put in the round bracket. Router link will tell us or tell Angular if I click on this hyperlink to which URL I should go to. All these URLs, all these uh, uh, relative paths, they should be defined in a file called app routing. So let us go to app routing now. Currently, if I click on any of these links, nothing is happening, right? So let's fix the routes. Open the app routing module.ts file. Array called routes. Under this, add a curly braces. For every route, you have to define the path. First is product list, and which component has to be invoked when I go to this path. This is product list component. Notice that once you select, it is also automatically imported. All the import statements are automatically added at the top. Similarly, add two more routes. also create. Product create component. Another will be for update, but using an ID. Whenever I'm going to update a product, I'm going to pass the ID of that product. So these are the routes that I'm going to define. I hope this is clear. Any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask. Let me go back. Now, if I click on the link, the actual component is being invoked. Can you see this? Working for everyone? Is it working on your side? Am I audible? Okay, Indranil is saying yes, it is working for him. What about others? Okay, fine. Now our routes are ready. All our components and architecture pieces are ready. Our navigation links are also working. Now let us try to get the list, right? So for the list, I will have to go to the product list component. Now for every component, it is going to implement on init. This is an interface, and there are three lifecycle hooks uh, attached with any component. uh, when the component is initialized, ng on init lifecycle hook method is called. Now if you notice, constructor as well as this ng on init have a similar kind of functionality, right? Constructor is also called when you initialize or create a component object. Ng on init is also called when you initialize this component. So what's the difference? The difference is in the constructor you will use for dependency injection to inject the dependent components or dependent architectural components as a constructor via dependency injection. Whereas in ng on init you will write the initialization part. Okay. Now the component has associated HTML, so we will go there and we will create a table in which we will display the product list as a table data itself. Let's add the table. I will add class or table striped and table responsive. So I want to make it striped table as well as responsive table. Before the table, I will add h2 maybe for displaying the product list kind of thing. Then under the table I will add a T head and T body. Under T head I will add table heads. First is for product ID, next is for name, next is for price, next is for created date, next is for category, and one more for actions. Under this I will add edit and delete actions. Under T body, now T body will have rows. T body will have rows that is defined by tr. Now notice that we are going to get the list of the products, right, or the array of products, as we can see here as the output of the API. Now we'll have to put some kind of a loop to loop over that collection, okay, and that over that collection we will iterate using something known as Angular directive. One of the Angular directives is ng-for. ng-for allows us to iterate over any collection. The way we write code is in products. I will add td table data, e dot id, okay, we will have this intelligence once we actually define the products variable. So I will add the rest of the table data later on. Let me add the table data for actions. So I'm going to add button. This will be for update, and I will add a router link. Equal to when I click on update button, update route is what I'm going to call, and I'm going to pass ID, right? So e dot id, and also let me add a bootstrap class. I'll call it a button second. Let me add one more button. This will be called delete, and I'm going to add bootstrap class etn danger, and when I click on it I will write a method in the respective component class to be called to delete this particular item. Now before I write further here, let me first get this collection, right? Now the way we have to get this collection is in the ts component class. First, in the ng on init, I'll have to call the service method to get list of products. So I will need a local variable, right? So I'll call it as products, of type product array. I need to import it. In the constructor, I'm going to inject. Okay, one more thing is there are only two access modifiers in the TypeScript language. One is private, another is public. By default, everything is public. So I am going to add a private object called service, which will be of type product service. So I have injected the product service as a dependency. Now I need to call maybe get products or get product list of this service, right? So let me go to the service class. Now for the service class, in order to call the API, we need to inject one more dependency called HTTP client. HTTP client there is no IntelliSense, so for that I will go to app module. Let me import HTTP client module. There is a problem here. Okay, sometimes this doesn't work. Let me just check. HTTP client module. Okay, I will have to manually import it. So I can write import. I want to import HTTP client module. Great. From @Angular, I need to import it from common/http. From this package, I need to import it. So let me see. This is result. HTTP client. Yes. Now I'm getting the required IntelliSense, and I have also added HTTP client as a dependency. Now I will add a public method called get product list. Any parameters? No, it is not going to take any parameters. What will be the return type? This is how you write the signature of the method. The return type or the data type is written afterwards. Observable of type product array. We'll discuss what is this, and I'm going to return HTTP client dot. I will call the get method now, which should get me the list of products, in this case array, and I need to pass the, if you look at the signature of the get method, first parameter is URL. Now I will define a class level variable for the URL. I can call it as API URL equal to Let me go to the browser, copy this URL, paste it here. This is the base URL for the products controller, right? So I will have to pass it to this method, which is API URL. That's it. So this will be the code for the service class. Let me go back. Neeraj is asking, can we have this set it in the environment? Yes, you can have it in the global environment file or configuration file. You can read from the configuration file. Usually we should be doing that, but since this is a simple case, I am just hard coding it in the service class itself. Okay, so let me go back to the product list component uh, class. Here I have the service class object dot API URL should be private, cannot be public. I'll say get product list. It is going to return me the list of products. There is a subscribe method. So subscribe method can be used to asynchronously call this method, service method, and get the result. So the result will be this. This is known as arrow function. Arrow function is nothing but you can use this as a shorthand for anonymous function. This is specific to TypeScript. So I'm subscribing and getting the result. So once I get the result, I'll have to store it in products. Result. Okay. And also on the console, this is for the developer tools. I'm going to write fetch product list. And if there is any error, I'll just alert the error message. To inform, maybe I can customize this message and display to the user saying something is wrong or internet connection is not working and so on. Okay, so this will be the code for fetching the list of the products and assigning to the local variable. Let me go to the save everything. Let me go to the HTML part now. Now we will have IntelliSense for products. Okay, what is wrong? Product list component. Okay, TD. This two double brackets is for property binding, meaning I have some data in one of the variables or a property and I want to bind it to the HTML. So I will use double curly brackets. P dot, something wrong with IntelliSense. Okay, anyway, what is the next property? Name. Sometimes the IntelliSense doesn't work. Price. Next is created date. And the next is category. Now let me put a breakpoint in the API get products method. Okay, and also let me go to the list of the products. Can you see that whenever I go to the list of the products, my breakpoint in the API is hit. There is some error. You have to now figure out what is the error. Okay, now you will get this error, and let's understand this error a bit. Whenever you call the API, okay, any questions so far? Okay, no questions. Okay, whenever you are going to call the API URLs from external applications or client applications, you will generally have this problem of CORS, cross origin resource sharing. Now, what does that mean is you can restrict in the API. It is by default restricted to be called only from the same domain, meaning you can any other application may not call it. If you want to allow other client applications to call your API, you must allow those applications to be called. Okay, now in order to do this, we have to enable CORS or enable cross origin resource sharing. Now, in order to do that, you have to go to the product API in the web API config file, register method. I'll say CORS new enable CORS attribute. If I use control dot, it will give me two options to install the package for this particular class. I will use the second one, find and install the latest one. It is going to install the latest package for the CORS support on the API. And it is also going to import that particular namespace. I hope this is clear so far what we are doing, why we are doing. Any questions? And you can specify what kind of origin or which kind of domains you want to allow. I will say star any domain. What kind of headers are supported? I will say star again any header. And what kind of HTTP methods, whether all get put post either specific, you can give a list here, or you can say star I'll say config dot enable CORS and give the CORS policy. So what this is going to do is this will make sure that our Angular application or client application will be able to call this particular API. Okay, now let us see. There is some problem. Let it be opened. I'm going to press F12. If there is any error, I will be able to come to know of any errors here in the console. We'll have to wait for the API to get started. Okay, our method call is also happening. Okay, now can you see this? wrong. Okay. Anyway, now we have successfully able to call the API. We are able to get the data and also display it as a list. I hope you got the steps. Now there are a couple of problems here. Can you see this date? Date is not correctly formatted. So what I will do is I will go to the list component, created date, and I will use a concept known as pipe, single line, and I can use inbuilt pipes such as date. This is going to now look at the data that we will be fetching. I have to wait. Date pipe could not be found. It's actually small t. In the nice format without that timestamp and all. Okay, so this looks better and nice. Also, if I click on update, it is taking me to the update part. If I delete, then I should be getting that pop-up to confirm whether I want to delete or not. And also we will have to implement the rest of the functionality. So now before uh, implementing update or delete, let me go to the create product part and implement the UI for this. So I will go to the next component now, which is product create. Again, I will open it. It has a template. I will go to the template, and this is where I will add a form now to take the input from the user. Okay, so let us say H2. I'll say create product. Then I will add a form without any action. In the form, I will say div. Then I will add a class, call it as form group. Again, these are CSS classes to group the controls together. Under this, I will add a label for ID. This is for product ID, and there is the input. Sorry, this is not for ID. This is for name of the product. We'll call it as product name. Next is input of type text. Okay, so I will remove this. Called for control. Okay, and also I want to display, if the validation fails, I want to display a message. So I will add a span whose class will be alert danger. Again, you will find all these bootstrap classes on the bootstrap documentation side. You can go there and search for it. I will add one more directive, if, meaning this particular message or the alert validation message should be displayed only if something is wrong, right? So I will add it a bit late after I add the form group and all. Let me say please enter product name. Now can you see now your something is okay. Now if you look at this, our UI seems to be shaping up. Now before I go forward, let me add few more things to the TypeScript file itself so that we get that support in the associated HTML file also. So let me go to the product add component.ts file, and in this I will add something known as a form group. The form group is used to create a Angular form and bind it to the HTML form so that whenever I enter all the values in the respective input boxes and click on submit, I should be able to transform that or typecast it to the form product model itself and then send it to the API. So let me add product form called form group. Oh, intelligence. Import it. Sometimes it doesn't work. Form group from Angular forms. Okay, I'm able to import the form group. Now I will go to the ng on init and create the form with the required fields. So I'll say product form equal to. Now this product form can be created either using individual form controls, or I can use something known as form builder, which allows me to group individual elements together and to output it as a form group itself. So I'm going to inject form builder, call it as form builder, use the form builder dot group method. Now here I can define all the properties and default value is this is required name. Default value is either you can use null or empty, and validators. Now I'm going to use two validations. If you go to the product component, we have added required as well as maximum length of 50, right? Same thing I'm going to add now Angular form. So I will use validators dot required and validators dot max length of 50, comma price, same thing, null, nothing, and it's a required field. Similarly, let me remove this, comma, this will be created date. Now for created date I want to use today's date. So if I just add the date, let me just do that part and then show you what is the validators dot required and category, which is again null, and validator stop required. Okay, so I'm just creating this using the group method of the form builder. This is going to create controls for the form controls and assign it to product form. This we are going to bind to the actual form that we are creating here, so that whenever I click on submit using Angular submit method, I will be able to submit the form itself. Okay, so let me see if some problem again. Can you see this? Now you will generally get these kind of errors, and you should know how to fix them. Okay, null injector. It is saying that this form builder, whatever is the module for form builder, it is not injected into this app module. So I'll have to go back and open module and import forms. Let me just check what that module is. It is reactive forms one. Compile successfully. Reactive forms module here. Everything is the same, but notice that there is no error in the console. So this is one part. Let me go back to the HTML of the I'm going to associate the Angular form with the HTML form. Now the way we do this is for the form, add form group. If you remember, the name of the form group was product form, and the submit, I will have a submit button, and you can subscribe to ng submit. Sometimes IntelliSense won't show. So when I click on submit button, I will be calling one method in the associated TypeScript class of this component. That method is called as, you can give any name, and I'm going to submit this form values, which is product form dot value. And the input field also has to be associated with form control name equal to name. And now I can add ng if hope this is clear. Is there any way by which I can build a form out of an existing HTML file? Neeraj, build a form out of an existing HTML file. I didn't get your question, Neeraj. Maybe you can clarify it. ngif, I'll say product form dot get a particular field, that is name dot invalid, and not and or there is two more we need to check. Again, this is for validations. Dot dirty this is or and this is a dot touch. If this is the case, okay, now let me check. Oh, there is some. Okay, it is saying that this ng submit method is not present, so we will add it, and there is some no other problem. Okay, any other question? Sure, Neeraj. Okay, so first time if you are doing this, it will seem weird. What is this going on? But this is how you will have to write the code for any Angular application which will be having some kind of CRUD operations. Okay, now let me get this touch and this method, not ng submit, I'll say on submit. This is the method not defined in the TS file, that is the complaint it is giving. So let me define this. I'll say form and ng form. Okay, this is where I will use the service class a method, call the service method to send the product information. Right now, if I just save, the errors gone. Okay, let's just wait. Yes. Okay, now if you notice, whenever I don't, if I write something, but if I don't write something, the validation message is popping. So this seems to be correct. So what I will do is I will just copy this from good, paste multiple times for name. Then what is the next property? Price. I'll just copy it. This will be product price. Price type will be number. I'll add price. Please enter product price. Next is created date. I'll just copy this. Name I will use created date. Type will be date. And it will set created date. Next is category. So let me copy this product category. This is again text. Category product created date. Price all properties done. Then again let me add one more D. Here I will add a button for submit. Let me add the button. This button will be type is submit. I will say this will be disabled if product form is invalid. Bootstrap class btn brand. Let me call it as add product. And also I should have another button to go back to the list. So I will add one more button for product list. If I click on the button, I'm going to add a router link. This will be equivalent to going to product list route that we have already defined, and one more class btn link. Okay, so let's see if the form is ready. Now you can see that button is disabled. All the validations will also be working. If I click on product list, I'm going back to the list, create product. Okay, any questions so far? Did you get what we are doing here? Are you there? I'm not getting any response. Okay, Indrali is saying yes, Miraj is saying yes. Okay, Nitin is saying yes. Okay, so our form is ready. So it's better to create the UI first, right? So that we get the pretty much idea whether we are creating the UI correctly or not. And now let me go back. Okay, so what we are yet to do is form is ready. Now when I click on this button, I should be able to submit the form values to another method of the service class itself. So let me add the dependency of the service private. I will call it as service product service, and in on submit I will have to call the create product or add product method. Let me go to the product service class, add one method here. I will call it as create product. I need to pass the product of type product. Return type will be observable. And let me see, after call the post product, it returns the whole product also. So I can say product, I'll say return this dot http client dot, we will be using post method. We will be posting to the same API URL, and second parameter is the body, in which I will pass, remember, the product that we are passing to this method. And third option is HTTP headers. Now we have to specify that we are passing the product as a JSON in JSON format. So we will have to define the HTTP headers somewhere. So let me define private HTTP. I'll call it as options to headers new HTTP headers. Now I need to import it. Headers HTTP. This is just to specify that I'm passing the product information in JSON format. Content type, this spelling, there should not be any spelling mistakes. Application slash JSON. Now there is some problem here. Cannot find HTTP headers. Spelling mistake. Okay. Now I need to pass HTTP options. I'm posting of type product. Okay, so this is how I'm going to write a method to create a product and pass it to the API. And notice that all these methods have nice signatures. They also give you intelligence while typing your code, and you will be able to follow along. Now let me call this service dot create product. I need to pass the form, so I will pass as form. If I try to typecast to product, it will give error saying that form cannot be directly typecasted to a product type. First we need to typecast as unknown, and then I can typecast as product. So this is possible. Dot subscribe, whatever is the result. If it is successful, I will display an alert message saying that product added successfully. If there is an error, I'll just an alert saying add product failed, or some kind of a message. Of course, you can have modal messages, modal alert boxes also to be displayed. There is some problem somewhere in the service. Okay, let me see if everything works fine. Okay, let me now try to add product, say test product. Price is 300. Notice that by default date is not displayed here. We will fix it. Let me add today's date. I'll say category cat2. Now notice that this button is enabled. Let me click on add product. I have put a breakpoint in the post product method. Let me check the values that are submitted. We have submitted all values except ID, which will be automatically generated on the database side. Press F5. Notice that success message alert box is displayed. If I click OK, I should navigate it automatically back to the list of the products, right? So let me do that part also. There are actually two things to be done. One is date has to be fixed. To fix the date, will need to use the date pipe. Date, I'll call it as date pipe. I will use the date pipe transform method dot transform, and I will have to use the today's date, and the format which is accepted is this. Let me save this, and also I need to fix the navigation part. For the navigation part, meaning when if the product is successfully added, I will display the alert message, and I want to go back to the list of the products automatically. So for that, we will have to use something known as router. Just hold on. So let me inject the router. Private router. I'll have to import the router. I will use this router dot navigate. There is a navigate method, and I need to give the navigate URL, which I have defined in the route. So I will go to product list if it is successful. There is a mistake here. The code should be inside. Okay. So let us go back to our application. Click on create. Date pipe. Notice that again this is the error. So what is the fix for this? You've already seen this error. Null injector error. What is the fix? Anybody? There is no provider for date pipe. It must be imported in the current module itself. So let me go to the module and import date pipe. Okay, now save it. Let us run the application. Okay, let me check. What is the problem? Oh, it should be in the providers. It should be in the providers, not in the import section. Let me save. Run the application again. Okay, now notice that using the date pipe, I'm able to actually get the date to be displayed in the date control. Let me add one more now. I'll say test 2, 500, today's date, category 2, add product, press F5, product added successfully, and also I'm able to navigate to the list of the products. Okay, hopefully everyone has got the steps.